All right, mate. Let's start with the good stuff before we get into the bad stuff. The AFC North, pretty spicy division, one of the best last year. People predicting this to have a bit of a shake-up this year. Do you agree with those pundits?
A little bit, but I think it'll be pretty much the same, as you'll see in my rankings.
Who have you got?
I have got the Ravens winning the division with 12-5. I'm actually a low-key Ravens fan because I love Lamar Jackson, but I think they've got a really good system that a lot of teams struggle to work out. Yep. So they're going to win a lot of games. Browns second on 11-6, and then a big drop off to the other two. I think the Steelers will come off a long way. I don't think Roethlisberger. I think he's hanging on by a thread, and their defense is going to get a lot worse, and their offensive line has gotten a lot worse as well. So I've got them 7-10, and then Bengals 6-11, bit of improvement. Burrow second year, and actually a lot of offensive weapons. Question is just their O-line, but I think they'll definitely improve.
Yeah, and they've added some defensive pieces this year. Trey Hendrickson, Mike Hilton as well, cornerback from the Steelers, who is highly rated. So if they could become a bit of a defensive powerhouse and let Burrow just get more of the footy in less pressure situations, they could be a spicy team. I reckon the Bengals are a dangerous matchup. This division has the AFC West and the NFC North, and I reckon there's a lot of teams that will stumble against the Bengals, like the likes of the Vikings, the Bears, the Chargers, the Raiders. I think the Bengals can beat all those sort of sides. I've got them on 6 wins. I didn't want to go too hectic because they are still in a very hard division. I've got the Steelers on 9 wins in at third. I can't lie. Before I sort of started thinking about my predictions, I was confused why everyone was getting around this call that they're going to miss playoffs and come third. But when I've looked at the ins and outs, thought about it, I've sort of gone with the majority, unfortunately, as I do like the Steelers. But I've got them in third. I've got the Ravens in at second on 11 wins, and I've got the Browns just pipping them on 12 wins. Just what the Browns already were last year, and then they've gone and added a few good defensive pieces like Jadeveon Clowney and stuff. I think they're a pretty scary opposition. I don't think there's a string to their bow that they don't have, if you get what I mean. They've got everything in the duffel bag that you could possibly want as a football side, and they are freaking frightening to come up against.
Baker.
Yeah, Baker's the only thing that could hold them back, but we saw last year they got 11 wins with Barker G Mayfield, so should be G. But yeah, I don't think there's any really questions. Do you think Lamar, well, you've got him in your fantasy team, so I feel like this is a bit of a biased question, but do you think it'll be 2019 Lamar or 2020 Lamar?
Somewhere in between.
Yeah. I tend to agree.
That's my blunt answer.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think the 2019 thing, a big part of it was like the element of surprise, sort of. Like, I don't think many teams had seen anything like that, where now we've got a lot of running quarterbacks and everyone's had time to prepare. So, yeah, I'm with you there.
The fact they've brought in a couple of receivers will definitely help Lamar a lot, because teams will now, they won't necessarily know that he's just going to run this year. They'll have to prepare for both, which will help him.
Yeah, I think Sammy Watkins is a really interesting addition. There are a couple of games where it was pretty bad for the Chiefs, but then there were some games where he was really, really good. But he's someone who he has the ability to like be a really, really important piece for them and be their main receiver, but he could also be a flop. So I think if he turns out to be a good signing, I think he could help elevate that game, because as you mentioned in the past, they haven't really had much receiving talent, and surely Hollywood Brown maybe doesn't take the leap that everyone's expecting, but surely he starts to progress, because last year was pretty underwhelming from him, you'd have to say.
Yeah. It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.